So all I have in this set is the brooch portion of the necklace and the 2 earrings. So this would be called a demi-Perot. Hi everyone, Cherry Vintage, cherryvintage.com here. Thanks for stopping by to see the second part of my beginner's guide to reselling vintage costume jewelry on eBay. The first thing I'd like to show you are these pins, and sometimes I'm asked if these are hat pins, but they're not. This is a hat pin. It's not a very good quality hat pin, and you can see like the size is so different. This is so much larger. If you look at the end of the hat pin, this one is not a very good quality. It's just very average. But if you could find one that's very ornate, they do sell really well on eBay. So you might want to look in the completeds for vintage hat pins. And the way this was used is that it was put through the hat, the vintage hat, and through the hair, and then it would help to hold the hat on your head when it's windy. Now these are called vintage stick pins. These are from the 80s and 70s. This one is, I believe it's Edwardian. It could even be more from the 20s. I'll have to do a little more research on that. And it appeals to 2 different types of collectors. Someone who likes stick pins, but also someone who likes cameos. That is a cameo, and a cameo can also be seen like on necklace, pendants, and bracelets, and earrings, and most often on brooches. And a cameo is a relief. It's carved out of a gem or out of shell. I find them more often shell. And a real one is going to have kind of a translucent back there, and you should be able to see light. I don't know if my camera will pick it up. But if this one is sterling, I'll have to check and see. But if it was sterling, they tend to sell for more, obviously. But they can sell for, like, say, $50 to $100. It depends on the quality of the piece on eBay. This one has some bend in it, which would kind of affect the price. But when you get pieces that are, from the 1920s and earlier, you're going to see quite a bit of wear on them. Is pretty common. Okay, let's go on to these. Now, this pin would be rather hard to find when you're out looking around, but these should be pretty common for you to find. And this one is signed on the back, 1928. Now, that's a common mistake that beginners make, is when you find a piece that says 1928, you think it's from 1928, but it's not. It's a company. It's a brand name, 1928, and they're still in business today. But they're really popular in the 80s, late 70s and early 80s. They have kind of that Victorian revival look. That's enamel. This one is Trifari from the probably late 70s, early 80s. And as I said in my other video, 70s and 80s Trifari, for the most part, isn't worth much, but the Trifari that's from the 60s and earlier often is worth money. This one just has an initial carved or etched into it, which is pretty common. This one has just little hearts. It's silver. Often they have some that are stars, and this one's a turtle. Okay, if I were to sell these on eBay, my selling strategy would be to sell this one. I looked through the completeds, and $10 to $25 is pretty common for this type of pin. And like I said in my first video, you want to look for things that are little characters, or characters. I can't talk today. So this little turtle, I would put at $25, and I wouldn't take less than $15 on it. And since these are both signed, but I don't know that these individually sell for much, I'd have to do my research. I would put these in a lot together because you see they're both flowers. And so that would attract 2 types of buyers. People who collect things that are floral, like floral jewelry, and also people who collect the stick pins. If they collect both, then they're more likely to pay, a higher price. So I would put these together at maybe $35, and I would take $25 for them. And then these stick pins, I would just save these little random ones and put them in a lot of maybe 5 or more. So anyway, you might want to check that out. Stick pins, vintage stick pin lot. And you can see that when you put them together in a lot, especially of this size, they go for a good deal of money, like $35 up to maybe $50, depending on the variety that you have. Here's something that looks like jewelry but is not. Oops, it's catching on the fabric. These are shoe buckles or shoe clips, and they just are adornment for shoes. And these are from the 60s. That's why they have sort of a pilgrim shaped buckle. And this is called filigree, this type of design. So I looked on eBay, and they're selling, you know, about $20 up to maybe $50, depending on how mod they are. So if you found some, mod would be a great keyword to use, and you have to date them by, you know, looking at the back of the clip, and also there's usually text back there that will help you too. When you're out looking at flea markets and so forth, you might find one of these in a box of jewelry, and it's really not worth anything. This is a chain that would hold reading glasses, and you can tell when you see this little feature. So I would not pick it up, and since it has loose or beads that can be undone, I would just save this and put it in a junk jewelry lot. Another item you might find in a box of jewelry would be these. This is a sweater clip, and you can see the little clasp here. They have like little teeth on them. And you know that it's a sweater clip because it has a chain between the two clips. And this was worn by women to hold their sweater on if they wore a cardigan sweater, which is, it opens up. If you're not familiar with a cardigan, they open up like a shirt does. They have two sides. So if a woman were to just put the sweater over her shoulders, she'd wear this to keep the sweater from falling off. And these have owls, and owls are always, again, like I told you, figurative always seems to sell well. And owls have been popular, again. They were popular in the 70s. This is the 70s. But they've been a popular trend for probably the last 5 years. I've noticed on eBay and on Etsy. And they also have little rhinestone eyes, and they're in excellent condition. So if I were to sell this, I would put it in my store at $25, and I wouldn't take less than $15 on it. Okay, at first glance these look like they could be earrings, but they're not. They're scatter pins, and on the back you'll see the little pin. Same on this one too, right there. And scatter pins were popular in the 40s, 50s, maybe even the early 60s, and they were just pinned on sweaters for, you know, decoration. And sometimes you'll find identical ones like this. Otherwise, it'll be like a large, a small, or a large, a medium, and a little tiny one, a small one. Something to note on this one, you have to always look really careful on any piece of jewelry that you pick up. This one is missing a little blue rhinestone and a faux pearl there and a faux pearl here. And these are unsigned. These were my grandmother's, so I'm going to keep them as they are. But if I were to accidentally pick these up, if I were to pick these up and accidentally forget to notice that there's some pieces missing, I would either save these to use for other jewelry repair, or I would put this in a junk jewelry lot. And I know that's kind of hard to imagine just throwing something like this in junk jewelry, but really, unless it's a valuable piece and it's been repaired, the resale value isn't that much on it. This, I don't know what I would do. I would maybe put in a lot of small pins, might be my strategy, of various small pins to resell on eBay. Something interesting to note on these, I think these are more like early 60s. This is a dragonfly. Get my big finger out of there. That's a dragonfly, and this one is a butterfly, but they really are a pair of scatter pins. And what makes them kind of interesting is it has little dangling pearl drop, faux pearl drop, and a flower on this one. This one is a bell and a heart. So I would set these in my eBay store at maybe $35 and take no lower than $20. If these were in good repair and I was selling them, since they're the 50s, I would put them at about $35 in my eBay store and take no less than $25. Okay, what I have here are 3 brooches. I live in the Midwest, so I say brooch, but the correct pronunciation is brooch, B-R-O-O-C-H, and you want to use that as a keyword when listing on eBay. You can also put in the keyword pin. And I think, growing up I called them pins, but they're really brooches or brooches. Now, this one and this one too both have a little, there you can see it, like a little hook at the top, and that is for a chain that would be through there. That's how it was originally sold. So it could be worn either as a brooch or a necklace, and then this would be the pendant part. So in general, you're going to get a better price on eBay if you have the original chain, but often the chain can be lost. There's still, value in reselling them. This one with the matching earrings, this is Sarah Coventry. These go for maybe about $40, $45 on eBay. This one on the back says Limoges, France, and incredibly, these don't sell that well on eBay. Probably, I would have thought they would sell for more. I'm obviously not selling it. I've had this forever, and I really love this one. But they sell for about $30 to $40, $30-45 on eBay. This would still be considered a brooch, and it's from the 40s. It says Calypso, and look, this little shaker shakes. It's pretty interesting. So the ones that are like weird little novelties like this, that's something to look for, especially as a beginner. Pick up something that's odd like that. This is from the 40s, and people in the 40s, it was a big trend in the 40s to take South American vacations and like down to Havana. One way to identify that it's old is here. Is to look at the end of the pin right there, that it goes past the little clasp right here, or the little hook. I'm just not sure what the proper word is, but the portion that it fits into, so it extends beyond that. So this would sell on eBay. I'm not sure how much it would sell for, but like in price books, they usually, price guides usually put them like from $50 to $85, and it depends on how what the different figure is. Like this is just a little musical instrument, but the ones that are like ladies or men, they usually sell for more. But the ones like this or a little sombrero sell for less, maybe $50 to $60. So here are some brooches that are not really in very good condition. They have a few condition issues. But if you look on the back, you can see that there's no little hook on the end, so it's just really supposed to be a brooch. And these are something you could easily find when you're out this spring looking through garage sales and flea markets and church sales. Do a keyword search, vintage flower power brooch, BROOCH, or put in pins, vintage flower power pins lot, because it has been popular for maybe 3 years now for bridal, I don't know what to say, bridal companies to buy these vintage brooches and make a bouquet for the bride to carry down the aisle, and then she gives the brooches away as gifts. So I just checked today, and like sets of just 10 random flowers can go for like $60 to $100. If you get like say 50 of these put together, they can go for, I've seen some like $300 to $500 on eBay, but of course that's more like when you have 80 of them to sell for $500. And it seems that the ones that are more flashy, like more flashy than these, do better. When you're reselling vintage costume jewelry on eBay or just collecting it for yourself, a term that you really need to know is a French word, Perot, and that means a full set of one design of jewelry. So manufacturers, like for instance this should be a Perot, because to the best of my knowledge, this was my grandmother's, there is not another piece missing from this whole design. We have the earrings, the necklace, the bracelet, and I don't believe a brooch was made with this set. And the reason why you need to know it for eBay is because it's a keyword term, and some people seek out the whole Perot of a design, and if you have a full Perot, that will be the highest price. Highest priced items often are the full Perot. This design by Sarah Coventry is called Remembrance, and in this design there was also a stick pin, and this should have, as I said before, the chain. So all I have in this set is the brooch portion of the necklace and the 2 earrings. So this would be called a demi-Perot. When you have 2 pieces of a Perot, it's demi-Perot. D-E-M-I P-A-R-U-R-E. Okay, let's talk about rhinestones. This is a very poor, even though it's an old piece, it's like from the 40s, is a very poor piece of jewelry that I wouldn't pick up. If you look at the rhinestones, they're pasted in, and you can see the metal up here. They're just glued in. So it's really crummy. So I really don't even know that this would sell on eBay. I just keep it as an example of crummy rhinestones. I'll show it from the side. And they're just glued in. And in general, glued in rhinestones aren't really worth money. Some exceptions could be like 1920s and earlier. Now here we have ballerina brooch. And again, remember I said that figurative pieces do better. But I found that on eBay, when I was just looking recently in the completeds, that this sells anywhere from $2 to $13. But I find this little ballerina brooch when I'm out treasure hunting quite often. And if you look at the back, it says, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but it's Gary's, G-E-R-R-Y-S. And these ballerinas, this is why it's important to do your research, because I did some research the first time I found one, and these little ballerinas were made to simulate rhinestones that would be for your birthday. So this one's blue, so this would be aquamarine for March. And I've been able to sell these when I find them for $15. Sometimes, I remember I sold one for $19 and I sold one for $13, but I would never take less than $13 on it. And I believe the reason why I was able to sell it for that much is because I used keywords in eBay, such as ballerina, March, birthday, aquamarine, and also mod, because if you look at the ballerina, she's really reduced her features. There's no apparent features. So that's indicative of like mod, the 60s, and also MCM, mid-century modern, which a lot of people are into collecting. So that's the importance of doing your research, to know that this really was related to birthdays, and the keywords are important to figure out so that you can get the best price, obviously. Here are some better quality rhinestones. These are not prong set, they're just glued in. But what makes these a better find is that on the back it says a good quality maker, listener, L-I-S-N-E-R. And there is a certain type of rhinestone called Aurora Borealis, meaning the northern lights. And on eBay, that is abbreviated AB. So if you go to eBay and you look through the sold, completed listings, and type in something like vintage earrings AB, you will see what a great variety there is of these rhinestones. They have a base color, which is like topaz, kind of gold, and then they reflect blue and green. But, you know, like I said, there's a big variety. They could have a red or a blue base color, etc. And these, oh, I forgot to say this. What gives them that multicolor reflection is a coating that was developed in the mid-50s. So if you find a pair of earrings, regardless of the maker, if they are Aurora Borealis type rhinestones, then that lets you date them from the 1950s, about 1955, 56 it was invented, to they're still doing it modern day. So if you find these Aurora Borealis, they cannot be older than about 1955, 56. This next, oh, I forgot to say the price. These, I would say, on eBay, I'd have to look it up, but I would say that they're selling maybe $25 to $35. I wouldn't take less than $25. I think I would put them in my store at $45 and not take less than $25. So the price on these that I noticed on eBay for this particular earring, they sell anywhere between $25 to $40. myself, I would never sell these for $25. They're just too high a quality to sell for that low. I would sell them, I would set them at 60, and the lowest I think I would take is 45. And if I just absolutely had to sell them, I would sell them at 35. But I would never sell them for less than $35 because Weiss will always be a good jewelry investment. Thanks for stopping by. This is the end of my second part of this series. I hope to be able to do part 3 fairly soon as time permits. If you've enjoyed this series so far, will you please remember to like this video? I'd like to hear your comments, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.